Hi, welcome to our channel Programming of Mind, where we accelerate your knowledge with concise, from high-value book summaries. Let's begin. The inner struggles, confronting the ego and illusions. As Ravi continued his journey with his Guruji, the path to self-realization became clearer, but it wasn't an easy path. While he had found a teacher who had unlocked profound wisdom in his heart, the struggle within him was far from over. The ego, which had dominated his mind for so many years, did not relinquish its grip easily. Even as his spiritual experiences deepened, Ravi found himself confronting new layers of resistance, patterns of thought and attachment that he had never seen before. The journey to awakening wasn't just about discovering deeper truths. It was also about confronting the most difficult aspects of oneself. It was a paradoxical experience. On one hand, Ravi felt increasingly connected to the divine, but on the other, the more he let go, the more his attachments and fears revealed themselves. He began to realize that his mind had been a labyrinth of desires, anxieties, and false beliefs, many of which he didn't even know existed until now. The ego's last stand. One morning, after an intense meditation session, Ravi felt a deep sense of peace, something he had never felt before. The boundaries between himself and the universe seemed to dissolve, and for the first time, he experienced a glimpse of his true nature, boundless, pure, and free from all the limitations of his mind and body. It was an experience of profound joy, something he had been yearning for all his life. But as he sat there in this blissful state, something unexpected happened. A thought arose in his mind. It was subtle, almost imperceptible, but it carried weight. "This is who I am. I have found the truth," the thought said. At first, Ravi didn't pay much attention to it, but as the thought lingered, he realized the danger in it. It was the ego, disguised as spiritual pride. The very thing he had been trying to escape had found a way to sneak back into his consciousness. Ravi realized that even the most profound spiritual experiences could be co-opted by the ego. The mind had a tendency to cling to any experience, especially one as powerful as the direct perception of the divine. This was a moment of clarity for Ravi. He saw that, in the end, the ego was insidious and cunning. It could disguise itself as a sense of spiritual achievement, making one believe that they had already arrived. But in reality, this was just another illusion. Ravi understood that spiritual growth was not about accumulating experiences or achieving some kind of spiritual status. It was about humility, about surrendering even the very idea of having found truth. The challenge of detachment. With this realization, Ravi's path became one of deeper surrender. Guruji often spoke of detachment, not as a rejection of life, but as a way of freeing oneself from the bondage of desires. Ravi understood that attachment, whether to people, places, or material possessions, was a form of slavery. The more attached he was to something, the more it held power over him. He could see how attachments clouded his perception and kept him locked in a state of inner turmoil. One day, Ravi found himself sitting by the riverbank, contemplating the teachings of his Guruji. The river flowed gently, its waters reflecting the golden light of the setting sun. It was beautiful, peaceful, and eternal, much like the deeper truths he was beginning to understand. Yet, as he sat there, a thought crossed his mind. What would happen if I lost everything I love? What if all the people I hold dear were to leave me, or if I were to lose everything I possess? The thought filled him with unease. In that moment, Ravi saw how attached he had become to the world around him, his family, his friends, his sense of identity. His mind had begun to believe that these things were essential to his happiness and security. Yet, deep within, Ravi knew that true peace could never come from external circumstances. His attachments were merely a veil covering his true nature. The realization was humbling. If I truly want peace, I must let go of my attachments. Not by renouncing them, but by seeing them for what they are, temporary and ever-changing. The unraveling of the false self. As Ravi reflected on these insights, he began to experience a series of shifts in his perception, The process was gradual, but it felt like a profound internal unraveling. He had spent so many years building his identity, his story, his roles, and his beliefs about himself. He was Ravi, the son, the student, the friend, the person who had certain expectations of life and himself. But as he continued his practice under Guruji's guidance, these roles started to feel less and less authentic. They felt like a set of clothes he had outgrown. Guruji, noticing Ravi's internal struggles, gently guided him through this process. "You are not the roles you play," Guruji said. "You are the awareness that observes the roles. The false self, the ego, creates identities based on the external world, but your true self is beyond all of it." This was a powerful teaching for Ravi. He began to see that his identification with his family, his career, his image, everything he had taken for granted as who he was an illusion. These identities were merely labels, temporary and transient. The real Ravi, the eternal self, was the silent observer behind the identities. It was a jarring realization. If he was not these roles, then who was he? The more Ravi meditated on this question, the more he understood that the answer could not be found through intellectual thinking. It could only be realized through direct experience. It was not something that could be grasped by the mind. It had to be felt in the deepest part of the soul. The path is self-inquiry. One evening, Ravi sat with Guruji by a fire, the glow of the flames dancing across their faces. The air was cool, and the sounds of the night, the chirping of crickets, the rustling of leaves, added to the serene atmosphere. Ravi felt a deep sense of gratitude in his heart. The journey had been difficult, but it had also been incredibly fulfilling. For the first time in his life, he felt a sense of inner freedom. Guruji asked, "Do you know who you are, Ravi?" The question was simple, yet profound. Ravi had been meditating for hours every day, seeking to understand his true nature. But now the question seemed to take on a different meaning. Who was he? Was he the mind, the body, the emotions? Or was he something beyond all of these? Ravi realized that this was the key question, the question of self-inquiry. He began to probe deeper into his own being, asking himself, "Who am I, really?" He watched his thoughts, observed his emotions, and experienced his body. But in all of these, he saw only temporary things. The thoughts came and went, the emotions ebbed and flowed, and the body aged and changed. But behind all of this, there was an unchanging awareness, something that observed all these changing phenomena. This awareness was the key to his true nature. Ravi began to understand that the self he had been searching for was not something to be found in the world. It was not an object to be obtained or a destination to be reached. It was the awareness itself, always present, always here. Guruji smiled as Ravi's eyes lit up with understanding. "The truth is simple, Ravi. You are that awareness. The rest is just a play of the mind. The inner transformation, the shift of identity." With this newfound understanding, Ravi's spiritual practice took on a new dimension. He no longer sought to become something or someone else. He no longer sought experiences or achievements. The journey now became one of unfolding the layers of illusion, one by one, and letting go of everything that was not his true self. The world outside had not changed, but Ravi had changed. His interactions with others became more authentic, more present. He was no longer bound by the expectations of others or the need to prove himself. He had discovered something deeper, something that could not be shaken by the vicissitudes of life. In this deep state of surrender, Ravi felt a profound sense of peace. The internal struggle with the ego began to lose its grip. He realized that he didn't need to control or manipulate his thoughts. He simply needed to observe them. He didn't need to change the world. He simply needed to change his relationship with it. As Ravi continued to meditate and deepen his awareness, he became more attuned to the presence of the divine in everything. The world around him, once filled with distractions, now appeared as a reflection of the divine light. Each person, each moment, was imbued with a sense of sacredness. Ravi saw that everything was connected, and this understanding filled him with boundless love and compassion. Thank you for listening, and please like the video and subscribe for more great upcoming content that will put you in top 1% people in the world.